You're watching India Debates. I'm Rahul Shivshankar. Should educational qualifications be the basis for determining competence of ministers? Apparently, yes. At least that is what the Congress would have us believe, judging from its unrelenting attacks on Union HRD Minister Smriti Irani. The ball was set rolling by Ajay Kumar, the Congress General Secretary and Rahul Gandhi aide, when he mocked her academic credentials, dismissing her as a 12th class pass and therefore unworthy, in his opinion, of holding a portfolio in government. Today, the ball has gathered momentum as the Congress added yet another spoke, another dimension, claiming that not only is Smriti Irani underqualified, but that she has also misled the Election Commission under oath by misrepresenting her academic credentials. The BJP has dismissed these claims as a desperate attempt at slander. The party has asked the Congress to examine its own record, the credentials of its own ministers, and hold itself to the standards it expects of others by citing several examples of attempt at slander. The party has asked the Congress to examine its own record, the credentials of its own ministers, and hold itself to the standards it expects of others by citing several examples of individuals who aren't highly educated but held substantial posts in the UPA government. So we're asking on India Debates tonight, does the Congress have a case, or is the BJP getting away with appointing a lightweight, Smriti Irani, by questioning or disregarding the Congress's concerns and projecting it as vendetta? Let's open this out. Let's open this out for debate. Joining us, Captain Abhimanyu, the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Good evening. Captain Gopinath with us also, the founder of Air Deccan. Salman Soz, the national spokesperson of the Congress, with us. Lord Meghnath Desai is with us. And so is Madhav Nalapat, professor and consulting editor here at NewsX. Let me begin by asking a very fundamental question of those who are not aligned to any political parties. Meghnath Desai, should there be a basis, an educational qualification, should that be the basis for determining the competence of ministers?
I think there is no connection between an educational qualification as against education, which is a different matter, and competence. And we should also remember that except for Jawaharlal Nehru, who had a degree from Cambridge, Indira Gandhi did not have a degree, Rajiv Gandhi did not have a degree, and as far as I know, Sonia Gandhi doesn't have a degree. But Rahul Gandhi, there are some doubts, but he never became a minister. So I think the idea that somehow everybody has to have a qualification and a degree to become a minister is for ministers should be competent, should be educated, and I think Smriti Irani is perfectly well educated. She may not have passed degrees. You know, just Indira Gandhi was a very well educated person.
Okay.
She never had a degree.
Salman
so what is all this thing about degrees? You know, why this third-rate concern for degrees?
Okay, there are two aspects. Okay, two aspects. Lord Meghnath Desai is bringing out two aspects. There is a distinction, he says, between educational qualifications and work ethic. Judge an individual on his work ethic, not on the number of BAs, MBAs, and other abbreviations suffixed to his name. And on the other hand, criticize on substance rather than superficiality. Salman Soz, you're guilty of doing neither.
No, we're not guilty of doing anything. Basically, first you must understand that Ms. Smriti Irani, I hold her in high esteem. She's not only an accomplished actress, she's also a very competent politician. So this is not about Smriti Irani, the person. But it is about the Minister of Education, of Human Resource Development. This is a position in which Ms. Smriti Irani would have to interact with a lot of very senior academics in this country. And that does have an impact. And by the way, this is the same ministry that was headed by Maulana Azad, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. It was headed by Dr. Karan Singh, Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi, many eminent personalities, and very well-read people. So that is one part of it. But the other part that has emerged, and I think that is very grave, and that is about the affidavits that Ms. Smriti Irani filed in 2004, 2011, and 2014, in which, in 2004, where she says that she passed her BA in 1996, and in 2014, in 2011, when she filed for Rajya Sabha, she did not talk about her academic credentials. But in 2014, she talks about having completed, I believe, her BCom Part 1. Now, this kind of misrepresentation on an affidavit by the Minister for Human Resource Development is, in my view, untenable. She must explain, and she should come out clean, because this is also about, she has to be an inspiration
don't shift the
to so many
goalposts,
youngsters in this country.
Salman Soz, let's stick to the issue.
Sorry?
I don't want to go down the route
No.
of something that none of us can prove.
I am sticking to this.
No. No one can prove those charges that you're making. Let the government come out. Let Smriti Irani arrest. Let Smriti Irani address the second part of your allegations. Let's talk about the issue at hand. You feel
that's what I'm saying.
No, you
she
feel that you need a degree. You feel that one needs a degree to hold one's own against academics. What explains Sri Prakash Jaiswal's choice as coal minister? He had an intermediate degree. Did he not have individuals who were technocrats advising him? Do you think he was incapable because he didn't have a degree? Isn't that being a bit elitist?
Okay. Rahul, no. Rahul, actually you're confusing things. It is nobody's case, by the way, that all politicians and all ministers have to have an MBA or a PhD or an MA in economics or whatever. It is just simply a matter of when you're talking about education. This kind of a thing. Tomorrow you might just say, oh, by the way, why don't we make Mr. Giriraj Singh the RBI governor? Because, we just need a leader out there. I don't think that, in some cases, in some particular cases, the people of this country have a right to ask, is that the right appointment? Of course, ultimately, ministers, their track record will bear things out. It's just a simple question. Maybe
did Mr. Sibal, who was an HR
BJP
minister,
supporters are the ones who actually came out with these questions as well.
Let me get responses from the panel. I don't want to be the inquisitor here. Let me get responses from the panel. The Bharatiya Janata Party, Captain Abhimanyu, respond to your counterpart.
Rahul, I'm not really surprised by the no balls and white balls thrown by the Congress spokesperson here. There are two basic issues which have come to the fore today and which have been raised by the Congress party spokesperson perhaps, or ex-minister Mr. Ajay Kumar, and Mr. Salman Soz is kind of siding with his comment here. Would he please like to explain that if this is a precondition for any ministry, then Mr. Ajay Kumar was the sports minister. How many medals had he won in any national or international championship before he became the sports minister? Would he please like to explain?
Not for any ministry.
Is there any degree prescribed in the Constitution of India for any particular ministry?
I did not say that.
And the other thing, as far as the affidavit of Smriti Irani ji is concerned, I would really like to ask Salman Soz. I was not very speaking, Salman. I would like to ask that, could you please explain the errors in the affidavits of Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji about their education? Would you please like to explain those things? Congress is actually indulging in unnecessary slander. It seems that they've lost their mental after this huge debacle. They are suffering from the double force syndrome now, which is now becoming talk of the town, that they're going around making such bizarre and such absurd statements.
A case of Saab rapes, is it?
Issues related to policy.
Okay, let him respond, and then I want to open it up to the rest of our panelists also. Salman Soz, respond.
Okay. Captain Abhimanyu should just calm down and relax. I know the government has not gotten off on the right foot after many faux pas that they're starting with the minister in the Prime Minister's office. But on this particular issue, I'm not at all suggesting, neither is the Congress Party, that to become a minister or any minister you have to be a PhD. But we're only simply making a point about the ministry that deals with education. specifically about education. We're not about the coal ministry.
Kapil Sibal was no B.Ed.
Aviation.
No, hang on. Kapil Sibal had a law degree.
You are putting conditions for ministers here.
What's a law degree?
You are trying to suggest that let's change the constitution and let's put conditions on each of the ministries.
Okay, gentlemen, 1 second.
And tomorrow you are going to say that the finance minister must have PhD in international economics.
Gentlemen, 1 second.
Captain Abhimanyu, I did not interrupt Captain
second.
Abhimanyu, that I did not interrupt you, sir.
Okay, Mr.
You please
Sood.
do not interrupt me. I'm
Okay,
just
Mr. Sood,
speaking,
1
I'm listening
second.
to you, and I have a right to respond.
Okay, let's get the others on.
I'm just suggesting
Yes.
that, by the way, there are many ministers in this government who are even less educated. We're not saying anything about them.
I thought it was about, democracy is about representation. It's not about installing technocrats. Otherwise, we'll only be installing technocrats which are not accountable to the people. You'll pick up people from right outside.
Would you please like to tell us?
Government and
We're not
colleges and
suggesting that at
etc.
all.
But 1 second, before I come to you, Lord Meghnath Desai, let me just open it out. Captain Gopinath is there with us.
Rahul, may I know through you,
Yeah, 1
what was the
second.
educational qualification of Maulana Azad Sahib?
I'll come to you, sir. You can raise those points. So the important points,
Can I-
I'll come to you.
Can I?
Yes, Mr. Gopinath, Captain Gopinath.
Yeah, I think there are two issues here. One is, of course, the affidavit, which is a legal issue. Let's not get into that now. I think this argument of Congress doesn't hold water because the existing practice has been that they appoint members of parliament based on their vision, based on their commitment, based on the assessment of the Prime Minister, basically. And I think it's wrong to single out Smriti Irani because then if you look at all the other ministries, there are a lot of ministers who don't have the qualification, the specific qualification of that ministry. Just, for example, in Congress, the defense ministry is so important.
Okay.
And look at the qualification of Mr. A.K. Antony, for example.
Yes, I mean, he
He's a
had
very
great
honest
intent.
man.
But the work
He was a
ethic
disaster as a
left
defense
much to be
minister.
desired.
That's a different matter. But did he have any qualification for heading defense?
Absolutely.
I don't think he knew the difference between a gun and a rifle.
Okay, Dr. Ajay Kumar.
So even Mr. Jagjivan Ram was a defense minister
Okay.
many years ago.
Okay.
So and I think one more point. I think it was also in bad taste to
We're
single
not making
her
that
out.
point at
Bad
all.
taste
I don't know why
to
you're making
use
that point.
language.
Nobody's making that point.
The only thing that
the
we have to
Congress
ask
party is not making that
whether
point.
Smriti
1 second, I
Irani
think
has
you
the
asked, sir.
vision.
We are coming to
Many
that.
of our great
Dr. Ajay Alok,
leaders,
Dr. Ajay Kumar.
Look at Tagore, for example. He never had any degree.
Fair enough. I mean, there are many others. And we just have to go back in history because some of the history's greatest haven't been academic greats. Dr. Ajay Kumar, where do you stand on this point?
Rahul, Rahul, I think it's very simple. One is that you have to decide the person's competence only on the performance. So Smriti Irani should be given chance to perform and then you can criticize. The other issue is it's very important that you need a HRD minister who's got the confidence of the Prime Minister to get things done. So I think it's more important to have political skills in maneuvering around legislation, getting funds. So it's not a factor at all of, of qualification. And if you look even at the present ministry list or the previous ministry list, some of the most effective people have been educated, uneducated, highly qualified, unqualified. So there is no criteria on that. I think the basic issue is we must judge her, give her time and see how she performs. And also from a gender perspective, there are other male members in the Council of Ministers who are also not qualified and nobody's mentioned that. So I think it's definitely unfair. Give Smriti Irani a chance. And the most important skill which Smriti Irani needs to bring to the table is the ability to interact with the Prime Minister and the other members.
So the Prime Minister's reposed faith in her.
Delivers. So I think
The onus now is on Smriti Irani to deliver. Professor Nalapat.
Yeah, and
Yes. Yes.
Well,
and go after her if she performs badly, but not before she starts.
Okay. Professor Nalapat.
well, it's not an accident that Smriti Irani has been targeted. I mean, she fought Rahul Gandhi in Amethi, and she ran a very vigorous campaign.
Oh, I see.
Secondly, she's very young. She's less than 40.
So the element of vendetta.
Well, I'm not going to. No, it's quite normal. Secondly, she's less than 40. She's a lady. So all these factors it makes her very unusual to hold such a high position at this point in time.
why single out
This is
Meghna
very
Desai? Why single out Smriti Irani? There are others, there are several others who are not equally competently qualified. Yes.
This is the same syndrome in which Manishankar Iyer was saying, oh, Narendra was just a chai wala. This is the snobbery of people who think everybody should go to Doon School and St. Stephen's and Oxford or Cambridge. It is just a pain of defeat, but still the snobbery hasn't gone.
Okay, so you're looking down your patrician noses. So you're looking down your patrician noses, Mr. Soos. I thought if it was about degrees, then, your own Prime Minister, who's highly qualified, would have done a better job of handling his office. If it's only about degrees, Dr. Manmohan Singh would be India's greatest,
Rahul,
would have been India's greatest Prime Minister.
Well, Rahul, first of all, it is nobody's case that you have to be, I've said this again, I'm not sure either you don't want to listen, or your panelists don't want to listen, or you just want to kind of say whatever you want to.
No, maybe you're not making yourself very clear, because how is it that 5 people have differing views?
You have to be, no, I'm just saying, no, please, let me finish. I'm just saying.
You're not making yourself very clear, because how is it that 5 people have differing views?
You have to be, no, I'm just saying, no, please, let me finish. I'm just saying that it is nobody's contention that, you have to be extremely well educated to be a minister in all sorts of ministries. There are other people who are less qualified than even Ms. Smriti Irani's. But Ms. Smriti Irani's education is important because she is the Minister of Education. That in that context. And by the way, this is not about her being a woman. She's a very respectable and respected leader of this country.
Not all members of the Congress party have been very complimentary of her
in the UP
and the work that she has done on screen. Let me remind you.
Sorry, but also, I do hope, this is not about Rahul Gandhi, this is not about her contest.
Lord Meghna Desai is making an important point. He's making an important intervention on facts.
Maulana Azad had no degree.
It is also about the affidavits that she has filed, and she should come clean on those.
No, forget that. Because the same can be asked of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, the same can be asked of Sonia Gandhi.
Why should he forget?
Mr. Soos,
I invite him to bring in the issue of affidavits of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi.
Why should we forget? Is that not relevant?
Dr. Ajay Kumar.
Rahul?
Yes.
Is that not relevant for this minister? Is this not relevant?
So was it relevant for Maulana Azad?
We should request all political parties. Rahul, we should request all political parties to, at least bring up the level of debate in terms of targeting individuals and, target the policies, target performances. But when we, reduce political debate, to individuality, to qualifications, to mudslinging, I think it's high time when we start attacking governments or, parties,
yes.
Governments or ministers on their performance.
Absolutely.
And till such a time, I think we should hold our horses.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say that I come from Kerala, and that's a state which is known to be reasonably educated and with a fairly good educational infrastructure. Kerala has been run by a succession of ministers who are school dropouts. You had C.H. Mohammad Koya, who was also Deputy Chief Minister of Kerala. He was a school dropout. You had a gentleman called Chakiri Ahmad Kuti, who was also a dropout. And many other school dropouts have been education ministers in Kerala. And yet they have run the education department quite well. And education has been one of the success stories of Kerala. So I agree with
Captain Gopinath, that's an
Desai,
interesting point, because if you apply the Congress's yardsticks to every ministry, then you'll have to be, as someone said, I think it was Omar Abdullah who said today, you'll have to be a mining minister, you'll have to be a miner to be a mining minister, you'll have to be a pilot to be a civil aviation minister, so and so forth. Captain Gopinath.
I think as Lord Meghna Desai very rightly said,
make a point?
We are not appointing a physics professor or a vice chancellor. This is very crass. This is very crass on the part of Congress. If they look at their own backyard, they have had any number of ministers who did not have any kind of qualification. Why are you singling out Smriti? And why are you singling out the education department? If similarly, as I said, the aviation department or the department of telecom, do you have a telecom engineer heading that? Or the defense, which is such an important thing. You have had people who have had no clue about defense. You have joint secretaries in the defense ministry who have served all their life in the horticulture department. So I think there is a larger debate. Right now, she must have the confidence of the Prime Minister, and she must delegate. That's what we have to.
Fair enough. Yes. Coming,
the
Doctor.
most important thing is Smriti
there's a
Irani
lot of
able to convince the
education
Prime
mafia
Minister
there, which has to be cleaned up.
Yes, Doctor. Yes, go ahead.
I think the Smriti Irani would be evaluated on her ability to get the government to increase the budget for education, the ability to increase the number of universities by private-public participation, by getting in, and opening up the higher education so that more kids, can get into medical colleges, can get into engineering colleges, and change the whole mafia control of education. I think we should evaluate it on that, and that's where I think all of us should put pressure on the government to perform. And not look at individuals, on gender or qualification or anything else.
Absolutely.
No, I just, I want to get more, I want to get more specific, Meghnad Desai. Yes, please make your comment, and I want to go back to the Congress. Yes.
Narendra Modi has undertaken to open 100 IITs, 100 IIMs, and many more AIMS institutions. So he regards this very priority, and he has entrusted HRD to Smriti Irani because he has confidence in her, and he knows that she will accomplish that goal. If he was not confident, he would not have appointed her. He doesn't care about pieces of paper, he cares about competence.
Okay, Salman Soz, this is what Manish Tiwari, one of your colleagues who was formerly an INB minister, has said. He says, criticize on substance rather than superficiality. Salman Soz, that question's for you.
I'm sorry. I think there's a lot of. I get the sense that we're going to start basically disqualifying educated people all over the place now, because that degrees that we strive for, work hard for, are basically pieces of paper according to.
I think that's an ideal.
But
Mr. Soz, that's an ideal which cannot always be guaranteed in a country where not everyone has access. No, hang on.
Please.
What are you saying? Mr. Soz, that's an ideal which obviously everyone aspires to. But can everyone aspire to go to Oxford or Harvard or what have you in a country where means are limited? I mean, what sort of an elitist comment is that? Obviously, you would want. Obviously, you would want the best out there, the brightest minds in government.
It's not about Oxford and.
Oh, please. Mr. Soz, I think that's a bit inappropriate, isn't it? Obviously, anyone, if you would ask a layman on the street... I'm just saying that
it's not about Oxford and... It's not about Cambridge, Oxford. Can you let me... Rahul, either you speak or you let your guest speak.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
go
there's
ahead,
no way
go
to
ahead.
conduct a debate.
Go ahead.
Let me talk.
Go ahead.
Or you... I'm just saying, ultimately, Ms. Smriti Irani's credibility will be increased if she... right now, her position is that she stands... the Congress party says that you have, beyond this particular issue, which we hope she will overcome, there's also this other issue where she has to come clean, and she should come forth and say why, if it was a mistake, what mistake was made in 2004 versus 2014, because otherwise she will be undermined. So it is only in her best interest to come clean on these kinds of issues. She is, after all, the leader of the education ministry. It's a very serious issue.
That's a different issue, but that's an
afterthought. That is also an important issue.
Let me bring in Captain Abhimanyu. Captain Abhimanyu. Captain Abhimanyu, why is it that Smriti Irani hasn't come out and issued a statement? Why is it that no one in your government has come out and issued a clarification on some of the points that the Congress has raised on the issue of her submitting affidavits which have discrepancies?
Rahul, this issue has come up only today, and I'm sure Smriti Irani ji is very competent in her own right to be able to explain this in the times to come. And if at all someone has any issue about it, they are free to go to the courts and seek redressal there. But I would like to say here that it would have been much more appropriate on the part of Congress Party or the leaders of Congress Party to welcome a person like Smriti Irani ji at the helm of affairs of the Human Resource Development Ministry. If they really wanted to examine her critically, please give us some time, please allow her to deliver on the policy front, and then you're free to compare her with the kinds of ministers of Mr. Kapil Sibal, who are very, very educated and they have a lot of degrees to show off. But from the very beginning, when Smriti Irani ji has been made HRD Minister, it compels me to believe that there is something that why are they singling out Smriti Irani ji? Is it just because that she almost gave goosebumps to the Congress leadership?
Rahul, I'd like to make a more important point.
Make the more important.
I'd like to make another point, please. And that is very simple. There was a lot of criticism by many parties that the Narendra Modi government, if it comes to power the majority, is going to impose a particular agenda on the education system. And they were talking in terms of individuals who were quote-unquote steeped in that agenda running the education system.
Yes.
Now, I don't think anyone in his wildest dreams is going to say Smriti Irani has been a lifelong worker of the RSS. I don't think anyone is going to say that Smriti Irani is a votary of hard Hindutva or soft Hindutva or anything other than a very liberal philosophy. In my view, I mean,
that's
those
more
who,
important.
No, those who have been talking in
so
terms...
you're saying that's more important?
No, those who have been talking in terms of the takeover of the education system by all kinds of philosophies, very imaginary, if I may say so, fears they have, they should be delighted that you have a liberal individual, a young lady who's in charge.
Perhaps you should be focusing on the larger picture. That's what Professor Nalapat is saying.
I think we are going to focus on the larger picture because we're going to watch everything very carefully. But you know, since May 16th, the BJP leadership has been pretty much going to RSS headquarters as if they're little school children trying to get their guidance from their teachers. So we are very concerned about the RSS's role in this government. RSS, if the RSS is a social organization, let it do social work. If it is a political organization, let them come into the political field quite clearly. Because right now, they're with the BJP in government.
So
that's
what does this do
from May
Smriti
16th.
Irani?
Okay, Lord Meghnath Desai wants to respond to you. Yes.
You know,
But
Congress
it was a
should
question
get
that was
used
asked
to
was a
the
different
fact.
question.
Congress should get used to the fact that they're no longer in power. They cannot tell RSS what to do or not to do, or BJP what to do or not to do. Why don't they look after their own house, restructure
We can
the
do
party,
whatever we want. We can say
and
whatever
try
we
and
want.
win a few more seats?
Lord
that's being a bit
Desai,
Forget
whatever
about
we want.
Smriti Irani.
No,
It's a
that's being
free
a bit
country.
unfair.
Look after their own.
No, Lord Meghnath Desai,
Mr.
that's being a bit
Desai, this is a
uncharitable.
free
That's being a
country.
bit
Every
unfair.
citizen can ask any question.
That's being a bit
Any
unfair.
citizen can
we
ask
can't
a question.
proscribe the
Of
right of the
course,
opposition.
Yes. What are you talking about?
No, but we
Of
can't
course.
proscribe the right of the opposition, Lord Meghnath Desai.
You cannot say that don't speak, don't ask
RSS
questions. We have to ask questions.
Okay.
No, Rahul, I would...
We can say anything we want.
Rahul, I
It's
would
a
like
free
to suggest,
country.
my dear
Yeah,
friend,
okay,
Mr.
okay,
Salman
agree,
Soos
agree,
here, Lord
agree.
Meghnath Desai is
Agree.
only suggesting to him that
Agree.
please look into your
Agree.
own house, and you have a right to suggest to the RSS and BJP, but you do not allow anyone else to suggest anything to you.
Yes, okay. We're wrapping this up. Final comments, Doctor. Final comments from you. Yes.
Rahul, I would just request that all of us in politics should stop taking individual pot shots and look at policies and attack government on performance and, raise the level of debate instead of, bringing it down to such ridiculous levels. I think that's very critical. Improve the level of debate, challenge people on policies, challenge them on performance, and expose them on anything which they do wrong. I think that's where we should take these discussions towards.
I just want to end on 2 points. I think there is a valid concern that has been raised, a latter concern about certain, contradictions in the documentations or the affidavits that have been submitted by Smriti Irani, and one hopes that the BJP will come out and clarify. The other substantive point that needs to be made, and I think that's the summation, the juice of this debate, is that let's question people's work ethics rather than their qualifications, because sometimes qualifications don't amount to very much if your work ethic is totally misplaced, misguided. We're leaving it at that. Lots more coming up in just a few moments. Don't go away.